Joe Biden did a sit-down interview with 60 Minutes this past week, and from the very beginning, it became obvious that Scott Pelley's main job was not to do a serious, thoughtful, provocative interview. It was to put a blanket around Joe Biden and make sure he was comfortable. He all but served him warm milk and cookies. Listen to Scott Pelley's introduction of Joe Biden. It's just bizarre.
Rarely does a president confront so much peril: the catastrophe in Israel, the war in Ukraine, and no help from a paralyzed Congress. Late Thursday, we met President Biden at the White House. It had been a rough week, and we could see it on him. Mr. Biden will be 81 next month, and he has said that when he's tired, his lifelong stutter can creep back in. But he wedged us into his schedule.
Wedged us into his schedule. Have you seen his schedule? Most days they call a lid at like 10 in the morning. And when they say call a lid, that's Washington speak for that closes the day. There are no more appointments or events. Now, maybe he makes a few calls. Maybe he reads some comic books. I don't know. He can do something. But when the White House calls a lid, it basically says the president is done for the day. And most days they call a lid by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so somehow this guy who's so busy, and I'm not saying he hasn't been involved in a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. But Scott Pelley, the apologist for Joe Biden and his administration, can you imagine Scott Pelley saying that about Donald Trump?
No.
That, he's so busy and he's got so much on his plate. None of that. Never going to happen. Well, in the interview, it was kind of painful to watch. Near the end of it, Scott Pelley makes some comments about all that's going on in terms of world crises. Let's watch this.
We spoke to the president. His Secretary of State was in Israel. His defense secretary was at a NATO meeting on Ukraine. America's oldest president seemed tired from directing all of this.
I'm sure he was tired. I'm not sure that he was directing all of this. Maybe he was, but what we typically see is that Joe Biden barely knows what is even happening, much less that he's directing it. I also found it really interesting that Joe Biden took this occasion, all those people who said, Joe Biden will bring us together, he'll unify the country. Well, he won't do it by making comments like this about the Republican Party and its members.
Look, this is not your father's Republican Party. 30% of it is made up of these MAGA Republicans who are maybe, democracy is something they don't look at it the same way you and I look at democracy.
See, that's an insult to every person who is a Republican and a person, he says these MAGA Republicans. Well, what does that mean, Joe? MAGA, make America great again. Do you not want America to be great again? Maybe that's what he's saying. I mean, many of us, it's simple. We'd like for America to be top of the heap, not bottom. We don't want to have to apologize. We don't want to be third rate. And if that's what he's talking about, and when he says, this is not your father's Republican Party, my answer to that is good. I'm glad it didn't. Because I can remember when the Republican Party wasn't that pro-life, didn't stand for really all that much other than making sure they had nice tables at the country club. I'm glad to see the Republican Party become the party of the working class men and women of America, want to put manufacturing back, seal the borders, have a strong military, believe in traditional values, stands for sanctity of human life. That's a good thing. I like the new Republican Party, and I like for America to be great again. So, Joe, you were insulting me. Didn't work. Hey, thanks for sticking around. Since you made it here to the end, that must mean you liked the video. So you might as well subscribe and hit that notification bell below. But if you really hated it, just click the like button 3 times.